Hey there, everybody. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. Hold tight. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining Dataville's webinar today in partnership with PASS. Global Practice Lead and Director, JP Chen, will be your speaker today and is presenting Getting Started with Amazon RDS for SQL Server. Before we get started, I just have a few housekeeping items. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the session, but feel free to submit your questions during the session using the panel at the bottom of your screen, and JP will do his best to answer them all at the end of the session. We are recording the session today and we'll send out a replay of the webinar as soon as it's available. You can also access some links to resources in the chat section that I'll be filling in as the presentation goes on. All right, JP, let's get started.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, hi everyone. Are you interested in migrating your SQL Server instances over to the cloud, but not sure how to get started? Well, you're in the right place. In the next hour, I will share with you the essentials and also take you step by step on how to create your Amazon RDS for SQL Server instance, and also migrate a database using a native backup and restore. Hi, I'm JP Chen from Dataville. I'm the Senior Director of the SQL Server practice. Like Jenna already pointed out, I'm really fortunate to have the privilege to work with 200 plus SQL Server DBAs in the US and India, supporting 250 plus customers' SQL Server environments, ranging from small to enterprise sizes. Our team and I can help you in designing high availability solutions, migrate your environment from on-premises to the cloud, and resolving complex performance issues. Even if you have 0 or 25 SQL Server DBAs, or if you have 1 or 1,000 plus SQL Server instances, our team and I can work with you in supporting your SQL Server environment 24/7, maximizing uptime and also minimizing call hours. About Dataville. Well, we are one of the biggest database support companies in North America. In addition to SQL Server, we also support other DB platforms such as Amazon Aurora, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, DB2, and Oracle, and many other DB platforms. Okay. We have been in business for 16 plus years, 8 plus years of cloud support, and our team consists of 100 plus cloud SAs, solution architects, and engineers. With that comes with the positive outcomes. We have 700 plus customers, 200,000 plus databases managed, and also 150 plus cloud migrations. Of course, it's very critical to highlight that we are an AWS partner. In the past few years, we had achieved and maintained the advanced consulting partner status with AWS. Now I will hand over the microphone over to Jenna to talk about our survey and also your chance to win a Bose headphone.
Yes, thank you, JP. It wouldn't be a webinar without a giveaway. Dataville is trying to learn more about organizations' cloud adoptions and usage for different workloads. And as part of this, we'd like you to take part in our cloud adoption survey that we've launched through a third-party surveyor called Validate. Please use the link in the slide to complete. I'll also add this to our chat function so that you have. And we'll be selecting a winner from today's webinar to win a pair of Bose noise canceling headphones. Make sure to fill it out today so that we have all of your answers. Thanks, JP. Back to you.
All right, thank you. All right, agenda for today. Okay, we're going to go over what is Amazon Relational Database Services, RDS for SQL. And we're going to provide a brief overview of AWS regions, AZs, S3, and IAM. We will also briefly go over planning, creating, and connecting to your Amazon RDS for SQL Server instance. Then we're going to migrate a database over to Amazon RDS for SQL from our on-premises SQL Server instance. We're going to take it back up and then put it on S3 and then restore it over to Amazon RDS as part of the migration. Then we're going to also explore what the DBA responsibilities in the cloud. Okay. Something critical to highlight here is that this is an introductory session. You can think of it as 100 to 200 level, right? It's to get you started with Amazon RDS for SQL. We will include links, URLs for further readings. Right? We will work on more presentations in later days to cover more in-depth contents, right? Because we only limit to 1 hour here, okay? All right, in terms of Q&A, how do we handle Q&A in this presentation? Okay, if you have questions, please do type them in the Q&A box, okay? In the Q&A box, and one of our panelists will help answer the questions. Right? We will also go over them between sessions or in our Q&A time at the end of the presentation. As we only have an hour for the webinar, we will limit our questions and also follow up on offline if you have questions that require more time to further discuss. Right? Of course, no one knows everything about the cloud or also migration over to the cloud, but life is all about live and learn, right? If you ask something really interesting, in other words, something I do not know, okay, or unsure about the answer, I will absolutely research to find out or check with our team and get back to you offline or connect with you through email, or we set up a session to further review, okay? All right. Great questions here. What is Amazon RDS for SQL? Okay. Well, it's a platform as a service, PaaS, offered by Amazon Web Services. It's also known as a database as a service, DBaaS, not to be confused with infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Amazon RDS is a managed cloud service with no system admin or operating system access. This is absolutely critical to point out, right? If you follow my mouse here, again, you will not have operating system access, okay? People then ask, then why use it? Well, it provides huge amount of benefits, such as speed of provisioning. As you can see from a later demo, we're going to provision the instance in minutes, under 10 minutes, rather than waiting for your Windows admin, procure your Windows server, and then install the OS and install SQL. You're going to see we're going to be able to do it in less than 10 minutes, much less than that. Okay. Right. Other benefits such as automation of HADR and many other maintenance tasks. Right. It also increase efficiency of resources. Most importantly, human resources. It's going to free up your time from doing the mundane installations, backups, many other manual tasks, right? That can be automated. So you can focus on tuning and optimizing your SQL Server instances. On the slide here, you can also see the comparison between the on-premises, infrastructure as a service, and also platform as a service. Of course, when you run on-premises, you are responsible for everything, right? You or your team, right? Windows team DBA team, right? Your company will be responsible for everything, ranging from server all the way down to data. However, in infrastructure as a service, right? If we run it on EC2, for example, right? Then Amazon Web Services will be responsible for the items highlighted in blue, okay? Server, storage, networking, virtualization. You and your team will be responsible for OS, middleware, runtime, apps, and data. Now, here comes the benefit of platform as a service. Amazon Web Services will be responsible for almost everything, except, of course, you need to be responsible for your applications and data. Okay. Right. So what platform is a service? You just need to pick a DB platform, right? In this case, we're going to pick SQL Server. The service we take care of the backup, HA, patching, OS, and also the underlying hardware. Okay. As of 2 weeks ago, back on November 21st, when I prepared for this presentation, right, AWS has more than 175 products and services, including computing, storage, networking, databases, analytics, application services, deployment, and so on, right? I'm pretty sure they know in the past week and this week, and also next week, they AWS will likely announce more services, okay? 2 weeks back, it was 175 products and services, okay? Of course, we will not cover them all here today. We will go over the ones that are required to get started with Amazon RDS for SQL. We will provide a brief overview of AWS regions, AZs, S3, and IAM. Okay. Right, question. Okay, of course, all of us know winter is coming, right? It's going to get cold. If you migrate your databases to the cloud, will they expose to the snow and other weather elements? Well, no, okay. This is because your databases will be in the state-of-the-art AWS data centers. It's not up in the actual cloud. So do not worry about your database being waterproof, okay? It will be, because it will be, like I said, the databases will be located in the state-of-the-art AWS data centers, okay? To achieve fault tolerance and high availability, AWS has data centers in different regions around the globe, okay? As you can see here in this map. Well, what exactly is a region, right? You can think of a region as a cluster of data centers. They are physical locations located from others to achieve the greatest possible fault tolerance and stability. Most of the AWS services are region scope, okay? And again, as far as 2 weeks back, when I prepared for this presentation, there were 24 regions. Of course, they will keep on increasing, right? On this map, you're gonna see the blue dots, or the regions that they have right now, and the orange ones are the ones that are coming up. Okay. AZs, availability zones. You can think of availability zones, AZs, as one or more data centers with redundant power, networking, and also connectivity. They all separate from each other to isolate from disaster. Each region will have anywhere between 2 to 6 AZs. For example, I live in Indiana. The closest region to me is in Ohio. It's going to be US, East 2A, 2B, 2C, and so on and so forth. These are the AZ within the region. Okay. Right, as was 2 weeks back, there were 77 AZs, 77 AZs in 24 regions, as far back as in November 21st. Right. The next service we need to introduce, because it's quite critical, it's tightly integrated with Amazon RDS for SQL, is S3. Okay. Right. You can see a bucket here because that represents a bucket. Okay. You can think of S3 Amazon Simple Storage Services, S3, as storage for the cloud. That's how we think about it. Okay. You should do the same, right? Just think of it as storage for the cloud. Okay. It stores objects and files in buckets. That's why we have bucket representing S3 here. Okay. Buckets are defined at the region level, and they have a globally unique name, right? Because it needs to be unique, right? If another person already have the name for the bucket, you need to pick a different one. Okay. You can also enable versioning and also encrypt your objects. In the demo we're going to do a little bit later on, we're going to upload our on-premises database backup to S3. Okay, we're going to show you how to create a S3 bucket and also upload our backup file to the S3, and then restore it, right, as part of the migration. Okay. The next topic we're going to talk about is the AWS Identity and Access Management, IAM. Okay. This is where permissions comes into place, right? Of course, similar to the on-premises, you have users, groups, and roles, right? Like just a brief refresher. Users are individuals. Groups will contain users by functions. If you're in accounting, you belong to accounting group. If you're part of finance, you belong to finance group. If you're in IT, you belong to IT group, so forth and so on. Okay. Okay. Roles are something that for internal users within AWS resources. We're going to see an example that's going to make a lot more sense. Okay, you already know it, great, right? This is an introductory session, so we expect everyone to get started with AWS. That's why I'm going over some of the basic and essentials here. Okay, right. Policies are the ones that define permissions. Okay? IAM has a global view, of course, as part of the best practice. The same best practice for security for on-premises also apply for IAM, which is the principle of least privileges, POLP. Okay. We will create an IAM role and also grant access to the Amazon S3 bucket that stores the DB backup in our demo later. Remember, previously we talked about we're going to upload the backup to S3, but in order to get access to it, we're going to need to create an IAM role and grant access to the bucket. Okay. Right, let's do a quick Q&A. Let's see if we have any questions here. Okay. I do not see any questions, and usually some of the questions some of our customers ask is, how do we manage data archival in S3? Okay. I know I've just stretched the service about S3 here because it's extremely deep and big topic. Okay. However, within AWS S3, you can create a life cycle. It's a rule for you to move your data from S3 to Glacier, okay, for long-term archival and storage, right? You can, based on the lifecycle rule, you can move it after 30 days and so on and so forth, depending on your data retention policies, okay? You can do further reading on S3 and also Glacier if you are so interested, right? I suggest all of us do the same, okay? Right, okay. Planning your Amazon RDS for SQL. We're gonna, as you can see, we're part 1 of 3 here. Okay. Right. Similarly, right, in the Art of War, Sun Tzu says, every battle is won before it is ever fought. Okay. The same applies in provisioning RDS for SQL Server instances. It requires careful planning based on your requirements prior to creating an instance. In the next 3 slices, we will go over the instance class type, storage, multi-AZ deployment, VPC, security groups, parameter groups, and option groups in a high-level overview. And you can further review each one with the URLs listed on the presentation deck here. Okay. And you will have access to our presentation deck from our website, right, after this webinar. Okay. because these are the critical options you need to have to answer before you create your instance. First one's instance class type. Okay. Right. The DB instance class type you need depends on your processing power and also memory requirement. You're going to have the standard M class and also the memory optimized class, which is all class. Of course, nowadays, you're going to also have the X and Z. And then you have the burst capable, which is the T class. Okay. For databases, for SQL, generally speaking, you're going to use the memory optimized class type. Again, you're going to have more details here, and I definitely suggest everyone review documentation from AWS. It's amazing. Like, just review them, and they're very concise and to the point, extremely well written. Instance storage. Okay. There are 3 different storage types. General purpose, SSD, provision IOPS, which is good for production database workloads. If you plan to run a database in the cloud, always remember to choose provision IOPS. Okay. Generally speaking, of course, there are some extreme exceptions. Okay. Right. And then you also have magnetic. Again, you're going to have more details here on the DB instance storage side. Okay. Multi-AZ deployment. Okay. Provides increased availability, data durability, and also fault tolerance for database instances. Okay. Amazon, in the event of a failure, Amazon will automatically fail over to the up-to-date secondary replica. Okay. This is where multi-AZ comes into place. That's how powerful it can be. Well, one extremely exciting news. RDS for SQL now supports in region with replica. You heard that correctly. With replica now available. Of course, it's only available for Enterprise Edition, 2016 SP2, cumulative update 3 or higher. Okay. And back then you were not able to do this. This is well, you can tell I'm extremely excited about the read replica because you can do your reporting from the read replicas rather than pointing everything over to the production instance. You can have like insert, update, delete on the primary instance. You can run the reporting of the read replicas. Okay. Right, VPC. Okay. A VPC is a virtual network that's logically isolate other virtual networks in AWS cloud. Amazon VPC lets you launch AWS resources such as RDS DB instances or EC2 instances in a VPC. The VPC can be either default or you can create your own. Okay. But your default VPC has 3 subnets, and you can use to isolate resources inside your VPC. The default VPC has an internet gateway that can be used to provide access to resources inside the VPC from outside the VPC. Okay. I know I'm just stretching the service area because it's a really big topic. Like definitely you want to do some research and reading, like on your own in this case. The next critical topic we need to talk about is security groups. You can think of security groups in AWS as firewalls. Okay. They control inbound and also outbound traffic. By default, the network access is disabled for a DB instance. You can specify rules in the security group that allow access from an IP address range, port, or security group. Okay. By default, all the inbound traffic is blocked, and also the outbound traffic is open. We're going to see an example, okay, a little bit later on when we configure the instance. Okay, parameter groups and option groups. These are extremely critical to DBAs because running and maintaining your RDS for SQL Server instance is slightly different from your on-premises instances. A parameter group, you can think of it as a container that contains the configuration values that apply to one or more DB instances. As a DBA, you can think of it as trace flags and also SP config. Anything you can do with SP config, you need to do it on a parameter group After you create a parameter group, you can apply it to one or more instances. Okay. Again, think trace flags and also think about sp_config. Right? You're gonna need to use parameter group in this case. Okay. Option groups. Option groups, with option group, you can specify features for options that are available for RDS DB instances. Options can have settings that specify how options work. Okay. When you associate DB instance with an option group, you specify options and option settings that will get enabled for that DB instance. You can think of them as additional features, make it easier to manage data and database options for SQL Server. Some of the example is as native backup and restore, TDE audit, SSAS, IS, or S. Okay. In the example we're going to do in the demo, we're going to do a little bit later on. We need to create an option group and also enable this option, native backup and restore. If we do not enable this option, you will not be able to restore a database. Right. Well, I'm a huge fan of checklists. Similar to everything I do, I always prepare a script, prepare a checklist. Just briefly go over them. These are the things that we're going to be selecting in our demo. Okay. We're going to choose the standard edition. Again, this is a demo. Many of the things I do here, if you need to do it if your instance is a production instance, you need to put in more planning and thoughts into it, okay? In this case, again, this is a demo, and I'm going to choose the standard edition and also choose the latest one. For a template, I'm going to choose dev and test rather than production, okay? I'm going to pick a name, RDS for SQL demo, admin, and then I'm going to choose my own password, okay? And the class, I'm going to choose the lowest class for cost saving, right? And in this case, remember, I said you need to choose provision IOPS. But in this case, this is a demo. I'm going to choose a GP SSD 20 gig. Okay. Again, for production, choose provision IOPS. Multi-AZ, I'm not going to do a demo on multi-AZ in this case, right, because that takes a little bit more time and more resources, and it costs a little bit more. Okay, but it's very simple. You just need to pick yes in multi-AZ, and you're going to be able to enable it. VPC, we're going to choose the default one. Public access, usually you put no because you need to think about other security considerations, right? You should put on different subnet and only your other subnets within your VPC, right? We'll be able to see it. Okay, but in this case, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to choose yes. Okay. Default security group, we're going to choose default one. Again, for DB parameter groups, think about sp_config. We're not going to do a demo on parameter groups. Maybe in later presentations, we're going to do that, but not in this presentation, okay? Not in this demo. Option group, we're going to do this. We're going to do this in the demo. All right, let's work on a demo. Something critical to point out. Again, ahead of time, you should have your checklist. Okay. Most importantly, but it's a team sport, right? Supporting databases is a team sport. And usually, your own AWS solution architect in your own company or in your team, you have permissions to grant you access or the required access for you to do this. Okay. Again, this is a demo for testing purposes only. Okay. Right, I have logged on to my console. Okay. Okay, once you logged on, you can search for your RDS services. Okay, in this case, sorry here, but I'm going to show you how to search for RDS. Just type RDS in there and select that. Okay. Okay, it's moving. Okay, we're going to create DB instance, create database. We leave the standard, create, okay, and then we're going to choose the engine. In this case, we're creating a RDS for SQL Server instance. We're going to choose standard edition. Again, review your requirements based on what you need. Okay. Then we're going to choose the latest one as per our checklist. These are the items we're going to do. No surprise here. Okay. Again, if it's production instance, you need to choose production. Right? In this case, we're doing a test here. Okay. We're going to name the instance RDS for SQL demo. Okay, you need to key in your password. Of course, wherever you key in, don't forget it. Okay. Even though you can reset it, even though with permission, you logged onto the console, you can reset it, but highly recommended that you do not forget your password. Okay. And for production, you just choose memory, but in this case, I'm going to leave the default. I'm going to choose the lowest one because this will be enough in this case. Right? Get what you need, not what you put on your Christmas wish list. Okay, I'm going to remove these options for now. Okay. All right, multi-AZ, I'm going to say no. Right? I'm leave to no for now. Public access, in this case, again, we're doing a demo. We're going to choose yes. Okay, this will contain the different options here. Right, I'm going to leave it default. Very interesting here, as you can see, AWS will give you an estimate on how much it's going to cost on a monthly basis. Well, I'm not going to go into the reserve instance type and on-demand instance type, right? Spot instances, those are beyond the scope of this presentation here, but we can go over them in a separate presentation, right? This is a introductory session. Okay. There are a lot of interesting reading here, where you can see you can have the price calculator. Okay. Right, then I'm going to create database. Okay, there's going to be in motion here. Okay, we're going to give it a few minutes. It will take minutes to get complete. Okay, right, but we're not going to sit and wait to see how the water gets boiled. Okay, we're going to move on and come back and look at this one. Okay. All right, now while the instance is getting provision, we're going to create a bucket. Okay, we're going to create an S3 bucket to store the backups. Okay, and then we're going to upload the backup to the bucket. And then we're going to create the option group. Remember, we talked about this before. We need to enable this option in order for you to do restores. In the same process, we're going to create an IAM role and also grant access to the bucket. Okay. All right, let's do a demo. We go back to the console. Right, so I'm going to open a different tab. To access your S3, you just type S3. Okay, we show up here. Okay. Okay, we're going to create a bucket. Okay, we're going to create a bucket. Okay. A second, sorry about that. Right. Again, it needs to be globally unique. Okay, no one else can have the same name. As I pointed out earlier, I live in Indiana. The closest region to me is Ohio. Okay, select the default region closest to me. I'm going to leave the default option, even though I can change it. Okay. you should always change it to the one that's closest to where your office, where your headquarters is located, or where your customer is located, right? It depends, okay? And I'm gonna leave that as a default, okay? Okay. You can tag it, right? For example, I'm gonna tag like team, right? Because I belong to the SQL Server team, right? This is basically label it, right? So you can query or find out what you have, right? Much easier, much quicker, okay? And then you create a bucket. Just give it a second. People ask me, that is it? Yes, that is it, okay? Now we're gonna find a bucket. Okay, see it pop up already, right? So I want to do a lowercase. Right, we're going to upload a database backup. Okay, this is my on-prem, okay, my on-premises SQL Server. I'm going to show you what I have in there. Okay, we're going to run a backup. Okay, again, this is my instance located in my virtual machine. Just think of it, it's in my office. Okay, and I'm going to take a backup of this database and upload the backup file to the S3 bucket we just created here. Okay, to save us time, I already ran the backup. Okay, I'm going to share with you where backup's located. It's in my C drive, and there's the backup file. It's only 8 MB. So we can, to save time, right, take this database much smaller. In this case, only 8 MB. We're going to upload it to the bucket now. Again, this is the bucket we just created. We're going to upload the backup file. Okay. Right. You just need to add the file, pick the backup file. Okay. Open. And then upload. Okay. Give it a few seconds. Okay. As you can see, the upload's successful. Okay. A little bit later on, we're going to go over the ARN, Amazon resource name. This requires for us to restore the backup. Okay. Right. Let's go back to our RDS console. Okay. Let's see if this has been complete or not. Okay. Give a few more seconds, maybe a minute or so. It's going to get complete. Okay. Right. These are so we already uploaded upload a backup file to our S3 bucket. Remember, we also need to create the option group. Okay. And then enable the SQL Server backup and restore option. And also in process, we're going to create a new IAM role, okay, to grant write access to the Amazon S3 bucket. All right, let's go back to the console. Okay, we already have it here. Okay, go in here. Right, so once you see option group, click option group here. Okay, and then we're going to create the option group. All right, give it a name. Okay. You cannot skip the description. I tried before. If you skip it, it's going to ask you to key something in. So I just copy and paste it in here. Okay. DB engine, this is the standard edition. Okay. 15, because we're using SQL Server 2019 here. Okay. Then you hit create. Well, once you create it, you need to find it, you need to locate it, because you need to add options in there. Right, I just click on add option. Once I found the option group, I just click add option. Then you need to select SQL Server backup and restore. Okay. Again, in the same process, we're going to create a new IAM role. Okay. As well, select the same. Like when I practice in preparation for this demo, I ran a couple of practices. Okay. And this is the role that we're going to create. And you need to specify the bucket that you had created earlier, that will store our database backups. Okay, it's critical that you need to choose immediately. Okay. Okay, just give it a few seconds. It's going to get complete. Right, as you can see here, it's being complete. If you go back to the dashboard now, okay, right, so it's being complete. That's the DB instance. Was it 10 minutes or so? Like probably approximately 10 minutes or so. We timed it and pretty sure you're going to be able to see it very quickly. It gets provisioned very quickly. Okay. Right. On to the next slide here. Okay, right. I know it's time for another quick Q&A. Okay. Right, I see all questions being answered so far. Okay, right. Many of our customers ask, sure, JP, you uploading a very small database. That's why it move very quickly. Well, if you have a really big database, what do we do, right? Let's say you have a terabyte amount of data that you need to migrate to AWS. What do we do? Well, in those cases, let's say, for example, let's say you have 50 terabyte of data and you need to migrate over to AWS. Okay. AWS can send you a 50 terabyte snowball. Yes, you heard correctly. Snowball. Right? It will cost you $200. You can keep it for 10 days. You can move your data into Snowball and then ship it back to AWS. AWS, we have all those things taken care of, right? And the logistics. AWS will then connect your Snowball to a data center, right? To an AZ, right? That's closest to you, right? Or may or may not be closest to you. You will then have access to your data. Okay? Again, use Snowball if you have a huge amount of data, let's say 50 terabyte or so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next item. We're going to go over how to connect to your RDS instance, right? Simple. You just need to identify the endpoint port number and use SSMS to connect to it. I'm going to show you how I would do that right now. Okay. Again, we're going to connect from our on-prem, okay, to our new RDS for SQL Server instance. Right? To identify your endpoint, you go into your RDS, right, dashboard. In a second, it went away, right? Okay, click on RDS. Right. No, I know we saw it before. I just want to do it from the beginning, so everyone will be able to see it, right? You click on your RDS instance. This is the one that we want. Again, identify the one you want. When you have many instances, you do a search, okay? In this case, we only have one here, and this is where the endpoint is. Okay, and this is the port number. Okay, I copy the endpoint. Remember, it's the default port number 1433. This is known to every SQL DBA out there. Okay. Right, insert a name. After you paste the endpoint, put a comma, not a colon. Back in 2011, 2012, documentation says a colon. No, it's a comma, okay? It's been corrected for so many years. So you have not used it since 2012, you need to correct that, okay? It's not a colon, it's a comma. Right, then you key in your password. You're gonna ask, that is it? Yes, that is it. You are connected. Okay. Right, I know the first point, security group, okay? I'm going to show you where you're going to find your security group. Remember, we talked about this before. Security group you can think of as a firewall. It's a firewall, right? By default, all incoming traffic is all blocked, all outgoing traffic is blocked, right? If this rule is not in there, you're not going to be able to connect, okay? So it has to be there for you to connect to it, right? I'm going to show you where you see that. Okay, on the dashboard for the RDS instance, you're going to see VPC security groups. Once you click on that, it's going to take you to where you're going to be able to see group, and then you click on the group, you're going to be able to see the inbound rules and also outbound rules and tags. If I remove this, you're not going to be able to connect to it. People ask me, why don't you show me? All right, we can show you. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to save it. If I go back to my instance, if I try to connect again, we would not be able to connect. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to connect again. It's going to fail. All right, we already know it's going to fail. For the sake of time, I'm going to go back and change it so it will allow us to connect. Okay, that's the importance of the inbound rules. Right, we know this is going to fail. It will take like around approximately 30 seconds or so for it to fail. I believe we have a little time here. We might as well to see it. So that will keep me honest here. Okay, let's give it a few more seconds. There you go, it failed. I think this is the first time I'm actually excited to see a failure because I expected to fail. Okay, right, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add the rule. I'm going to add it back in there. Okay. Okay, again, this is a test, okay? I'm going to remove this after. I'm going to remove the instance after this demo, right? I'm going to grant everyone, but do not do this. You need to have your specific security group, similar to this one. You have a specific security group, okay? For the sake of time and simplicity, we're going to open for everything. Let's save the rule. If I go back to my on-prem instance, hit connect now, I'm able to connect again. Right? That's the power of the firewall. Okay. The security group, excuse me. Okay. Right. Okay, let's go over some Q&A to see what we have in here. I see Wendy has a question on, can you turn on SQL Server options like XP_CMD cell? No. Remember, you do not, I know Ben is trying to answer it now. Okay. So remember, you do not have access to the operating system, right? But however, if you want to do any type of configuration, use the parameter group, Okay, you can do your trace flags options and also other, and almost anything you can do, almost, okay, almost anything you can do with a sp_config, you can do it in parameter group. Okay. Right. Oh, okay, good question. Then you have a firewall rule 1433. That's a port that's in the security group. Okay, you can think of this firewall. That's the port that's open, right, in the security group. You have control over your port numbers, right? You can open different port numbers by going to the security group. Okay, right. Now, generally speaking, a lot of our customers ask, besides SSMS, what I just did, is there any other alternative options to connect to Amazon RDS for SQL? So answer is yes. You can use, for example, you can use Azure Data Studio. You can use many other third-party products that's out there, as long as you can access the endpoint and the port number, and you have a user, and that'll be fine. Yes, when the SSIS already been enabled, so you do have SSIS, and you also have SSRS and AES as well. So definitely, those are really exciting options being made available. I believe some of them in the past few months. I know Justin make an announcement, right, on LinkedIn, and also there are many announcements being made in the past few months or so. The BI stack is supported. Okay. Right, let's move on to the next slide here. Again, just refresh our memory here. What we're doing now is we already took a backup, upload a backup, right? We took a backup from our on-premises SQL Server instance, right? We upload to S3 as part of the migration. We're going to restore it to our RDS instance now. Remember, this is the fastest way to migrate, right? Is to use backup and restore. Right? RDS supports native restores or backups up to 16 terabytes. And very critically, to point out that if your databases can be offline, then you should use native backup and restore to migrate to Amazon RDS. Else, this is a big one. Okay, if you cannot be offline, and it's also not homogeneous, depending where you live. Okay, depending how you like it, right? You pronounce it differently, right? If you have heterogeneous or homogeneous, right? You have different data types, and also a database cannot be offline. You should consider the AWS Database Migration Services, DMS. We're going to do another presentation in later days on how to use DMS. It's an extremely exciting topic, but definitely beyond the scope of this demo and presentation here. Stay tuned. We will have a lot more presentations. Okay. Right. Just again, checklist. Those who know me knows I love checklists, just to minimize the mistakes. Okay. Right. These are the ones already complete. Right, we have some database, we run a backup, we upload a backup, and also we create an option group. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to associate the option group, okay, with the RDS instance, and then we store the database. Okay, to restore your database, you need to identify your A or N. I'm going to show you how to identify A or N. Okay, so I'm going to move slightly quicker here because we only have 7 minutes. Again, we're going to associate your option group. Okay. Right, find your instance, modify. I'm hoping you have much faster internet than I do, okay? of course, when we're looking at it, it's watching like water being boiled, right? So always seems slower than what it actually is. Okay, in this case, you scroll all the way down and you click option group. This is the option group we created for backup and restore. Okay, select it. Okay, I'm going to take off the other options here. And yes, they're really important options, but again, this is demo. This is no, we run this for a test. In your production environment, you should enable them. Okay. And you continue. Very quickly, apply it right now. We don't want to wait until December 14th. Okay. Okay, once we modify it, we're going to restore our database. That retrieve the backup from S3 and restore our database. To save us time, I already prepared a script to restore it. Okay, but we need to find the ARN. Okay, this is where you can think of its file name, right? It's Amazon resource name. Okay, this is where our backup is. To do that, you go to your S3. Okay, find the correct backup file. You copy this. This is the copy. See, right? ARN copy. So go back here, right, to paste it in here. Okay, and then you're gonna run it. Okay, right, this is gonna take a little time, okay, because I suspect that when they run multiple practices, okay, then this option, I create multiple IAM accounts, okay. When it's complete successfully, that's what you're gonna see. I'm gonna open it to show you what you're gonna see, what it looks like. Okay, this is what it's gonna look like, okay, once it's complete. Again, because I create multiple ARM roles, and one of them must get misconnected somewhere, but it takes me like more than 10 minutes to get resolved, right? But however, once it's complete, you're gonna see it like this, okay? All right, this is the demo that we just complete, okay? We have a lot of questions on, after we migrate our databases to the cloud, what are our DBA responsibilities? What are our new responsibilities, right? Well, no worries there. There are plenty of work left for us to do. The cloud, of course, automates many of the stuff that we are doing on a daily basis. It provides the benefit of speed of provisioning and also increase the efficiency of resources. DBAs will, of course, continue to be in high demand as we need to focus on database tuning and also troubleshooting, right? In this slide and also the next one, I did some comparisons for DBA responsibilities on the cloud, specifically for IaaS, infrastructure as a service, and also platform as a service. Right? We generally speaking, you're not going to need to do installations, and many of the maintenance tasks are no longer apply for you to do, right? And when you run it on platform as a service, and database recovery, right? And in case you need to restore a database, you still need to do that. Sure. High availability. Remember, we need to turn on multi-AZ, right? And if you run on platform as a service, you're going to save a lot of time there. Okay. And of course, many other things I list here. Some of them depending which way you review it, but generally speaking, for troubleshooting and also for performance tuning, right? Those absolutely require DBAs. Even though you can automate everything else, you cannot automate troubleshooting and also database tuning, right? Well, the cloud does not change the importance or the demand of DBAs. However, as DBAs, we need to keep pace with change. As Charles Darwin once said, it's not the strongest of species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. is the one that's most adaptable to change. The IT and database technologies industries are changing. As DBAs, we need to adapt to the new changes, not only to survive, but to thrive. With that, we appreciate your time. And I know we only have like maybe a minute left here. And in case you have questions, please do feel free to contact us through our website, and definitely we will be able to get back to you. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, JP, we had a couple questions come in if you wanted to answer them real quick. I don't know if people are dropping off.
Yes, first of all, thank you, Wendy. She said, really nice presentation. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And Ryan said, do we need to change the policy on S3 bucket to be able to run the backups? No, you do not need to change the policy. As when the IAM role has permission to the bucket, you'll be able to retrieve the bucket, retrieve the backup file. Okay. When they have another questions on SQL operators run extended event and trace, there are different options. Definitely, like, please do contact us offline. I will be able to provide you more answers on that question there, right? About extended event, right, and operators. Okay.
All right, thank you, JP. That looks like everything came in. We will be sending out this presentation and recording just as soon as it's available, so stay tuned. If you need anything else, please feel free to connect with JP on LinkedIn, send him an email, go to datavail.com and pull a contact us in. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.